என் பெயர் சூடும் முன்னே ஏனே கோயில் என்றவள் என் முகமறியும் முன்னே ஏனே நிலவென்றவள் என் குரல் கேட்கும் முன்னே ஏனே கோயில் என்றவள் என் பெயர் சூடும் முன்னே என்னை முத்தென்றவள் என் முதல் பரிசாக என்னை முத்தமிட்டவள் என் பெயர் சூடும் முன்னே என்னை முத்தென்றவள்.
இப்போ அடுத்ததா ஒரு மிகப்பெரிய அட்வொகேட் பத்தி நம்ம பார்க்க போறோம். ஜென்ரலாவே அட்வொகேட்டா இருக்கிறது சேலஞ்சிங் ஜாபா இருக்கும்னு நினைக்கிறேன். ஸோ இவர் ஹீஸ் அ அட்வொகேட் அண்ட் நிறைய ஹை ப்ரொஃபைல் வழக்குகளுக்கு அப்பியர் ஆகக்கூடியவர், கான்ஸ்டிடியூஷனல் வழக்குகளை எடுத்து நடத்தக்கூடியவர், ரொம்ப இனிமையானவர், ரொம்ப அமைதியானவர். இவர் வந்த பரம்பரை அப்படின்னு பாத்தீங்க அப்படின்னா,
his great grandfather was also a great advocate, Sri Krishna Iyer.
He is the grandson of legendary jurist Sri.N.K.Mahadeva sir. இப்போ ரீசெண்டா அயோத்தியில அந்த ராமர் கோயிலோட அந்த டிஸ்பியூட் கேஸை வின் பண்ணி கொடுத்தவர் பராசரன் சார். ஸோ அவங்களோட கிராண்ட்சன் இவர், ஸ்ரீமதி ரங்கம் பாலாஜி. His mother is also extremely talented. So Parasaran sir பத்தி நிறைய சொல்லிட்டே இருக்கலாம். He is a Padma Bhushan, Padma Vibhushan awardee. He is a MP of Rajya Sabha, Attorney General for India. He பெரிய பதவிகளை வகித்தவர். அந்த மிகப்பெரிய பரம்பரையிலிருந்து வந்த ஸ்ரீ ராகுல் பாலாஜி அவர்களை இப்போது அவங்களோட அம்மா ஸ்ரீமதி ரங்கம் பாலாஜி பத்தி பேசுறதுக்காக மேடைகள்.
I'm really overwhelmed to be participating in this function. Most importantly, when the program first started, when Muralis sir started this program, the first program, one of the persons who was honored was my grandmother, Srimati Saroja Parasaran, where my uncle Mohan spoke. And to be on the same stage in the 13th edition itself is an honor. Now in the Srimad Bhagavatam, when the Lord manifests himself, he manifests as the Lord, and then his birth mother tells him to take the form of the human. And then the Lord says why he chose her as the mother, and then he says that I will choose the mother to whom I should be taken to. So just as the Muralidhara are there, this Murali also chooses the mothers, and therefore we get the honor here. And it is only because of our mothers that we stand here and we express pride. So far as my mother is concerned, she has had a very blessed life, because to be born into a family where her father is Sri Parasaran and the daughter of Saroja Parasaran itself is a blessing. And her grandfather, Sri Krishna Iyer, was also a great scholar. She had a very unique childhood, in the sense that till about 10 years, she was 10. She was an only child. Because my grandmother, for various reasons, they thought she wouldn't have other children. And for 10 years, she was an only child. So she was a pampered only child. And due to family circumstances, it was not a very, even though her grandfather was a very well-known, famous advocate, my grandfather himself, due to family circumstances, had to start life from a shed with very little money. But even in that, the thing that I learned from my mother and my grandparents was, they only talk about the positive things that they happened to them in life, and never the negatives. So even during those times, so the thing that my mother would say is, my grandfather used to get a pocket money to travel to court and come back by bus. And that money he used to save by walking to court and coming back, because my mother liked bananas. So to get those 2 bananas, he used to do that. And that he used to say with joy. Thereafter, within 10 years, my grandfather's professional life was rapid. And thereafter, she had brothers and sisters. So from a very small nuclear family, it became a very large family. And as is common those days, the family was larger than the family members, because if somebody was doing well in life, you had other relatives who you would have to help out, and it was a natural tendency those days. So she grew up in a very large, loving family, and she had a very far-thinking mother in Saroja Parasaran, or Ammai as we Even the grandchildren call. And every art that was possible was taught to her. So she was a good veena player, a good singer. She even now makes very good dolls. Any handicraft, she would pick up the skills. And it was not ordinary talent. So like, when I was a child, I asked why there was a silver veena in the shelf. And she told me that when she was a young girl and playing the veena downstairs, the office used to be upstairs. The Raja of Ramnad came looking for my grandfather, and he heard a young girl playing it so sweetly. He immediately rushed to the silversmith, purchased a silver veena and gifted to her. So it is that kind of talent it was. And I must, she was married. The other thing is, even with respect to drama and plays, she used to be an active participant. So much so that even today, even 2 weeks back, when we were walking somewhere, an old lady accosted us and said, "Nee and the Andala nadicha Rangam dane." So this is almost 60 years, 55 years back, but people still remember her, and this is a very frequent occurrence. So she must have made some sort of impact, even as a child dancer or her performances. She got married, and the family she got married into was a very different family. My other grandfather he was a metallurgist, but working with the Defense Research Organization, who used to constantly be transferred. So my father, so why I say this is, having a mother, you're lucky to have your mother see your achievements, but to have your mother along with you is also something that is fate. So even though my father had a very loving mother, because of my grandfather's constant movements, he grew up with others. He couldn't grow up with his mother because of the constant transfers. So and his background was very different. So they both set up home somewhere in Maharashtra. My mother was pulled out from her comfort zone, but even there she excelled. And we all had a very good childhood there in a colony with a school there. And when we were 15, they all decided that because schooling has to be better, we all moved. I first moved, and they all then moved back to Madras. Then I went on to college, and then my parents then built a house. My father had to keep traveling. So it was really my mother who brought all of us up. And after I came back and became a lawyer, I naturally joined my grandfather and uncles who were already practicing law. Those days, my grandmother used to be quite a tough taskmaster. So she complained to my mother that Rahul romba valiye pannardilla. Ennama enna achu? Illa office ke 7:30 manikku dhaan kaarthala varan. Night 11 manikku odi pedran. That is because her sons and her husband used to start work at 5:30 in the morning and work till 12. So my mother said, "Party titrada ni veetliye angiye irundhu valiye pannu." So I started staying. I was exclusively only with my grandparents. But then a very interesting incident happened. One day we got a call from, I used to go to my house only in the weekends. One day we got an urgent call from my mother saying, "All of you come home, there's a thief in the house." So we all rushed from Mailapur to Adayar. We found that the thief had almost just broken the cupboard. And he had, hearing the noise, he had run out from the back door. Only my mother and sister were at home. It was then that my grandmother said, "Ibdila Rangama Uda, then he and that is when I started living back with my mother." And so I must say that the unsuccessful thief was the one who put the family back together. Otherwise, I would have lived somewhere. So we are thankful to that thief, and that made my father also come back. So that was a interesting incident. And the other thing is, I have probably been called because they think I'm a successful lawyer. But the problem is, in her family, her father is the former Attorney General, one of the leading lawyers in the country. Her brother is the Solicitor General was the Solicitor General for India. Her other brother is one of the leading senior advocates. So nothing that I do can ever impress her. So in a way, it is humbling to get back home to a mother like that. But she's always proud, very kind. And we are very different. As a mother and son, we are very different. We constantly argue on everything. And thankfully, thanks to my wife, Subhadra, who is a better friend to her, is the one who brings peace in the home. As I have aged, I argue less. My mother thinks it is because of maturity, but that is not so. As lawyers, we get paid a lot for our arguments. And when I don't get paid, I don't want to argue anymore. That is the real reason. So I'm really thankful to Murali sir for organizing this. We have seen how it is organized. If we had organized something ourselves to honor our parents, it could not have been done in this grand scale. His involvement of temples, the Vedic chants, bringing in chief guests. Nalli Sarla in the Uruk, he is the leader in terms of how he has brought Madras back to the importance, brought the art, the culture, and also so many other activities it does. So his participation is a blessing. Shiva Shankari Madam, great author. Ramdas sir heads the Association of Restaurants, feeds the entire city. So to have such people associate is a blessing. We are truly humbled and we are very thankful to Krishna Sweets and the organization for honoring us in this manner. Thank you so much.